As we say at the beginning of each of these, if you do miss a part of it or can't stay for the whole thing, these are recorded and are posted to our YouTube channel, so you can always come back, re-listen to anything, or catch up on pieces that you maybe missed out on. So today we're going to look again at the restaking space, the ecosystem that's revolving around restaking. My name is Gabriel. I work on the research team at Into the Block. If some of you are recurring viewers of this, several months ago, I did a webinar on restaking with a main focus on EIGEN. A lot has developed since then. And so we'll dive into some of the new items that have popped up, new protocols, and what the restaking space looks like now, a couple of months down the road, and getting closer to fully live EIGEN launch. So on the agenda today, we're going to take a look at some of the statistics and re-review restaking in general. We'll look at some of the new entrants into the ecosystem. Then we'll try and capture as best we can, looking at the impact that restaking will have on Ethereum. This is a section that is still forming and shaping, so we're trying to condense it and capture some of the highlights. We'll look at the EIGEN token, because since the last webinar on restaking, EIGEN launched their EIGEN token and the white paper. That's quite interesting. And then take a look at the future of restaking, what the direction will look like, and what it might hold for Ethereum in general. So as always, quick update about Into the Block. First, we have a couple new perspectives dashboards that are quite interesting, with some fun charts and some interesting information, especially for those who are trading tokens regularly. The first, most recent perspectives is a token unlocks dashboard, where we take a look at potential impact of linear unlocking events on some of the largest tokens with the largest unlocks, and then also cliff unlocks, and pairing those with some of the charts that we put on our perspectives dashboards, so users can see how past unlocks have impacted different metrics, and then also prepare for some future unlocks, such as the one you can see here on the screen with Wormhole. August 3rd, there's going to be a pretty large unlock. So these are things that are helpful for preparing if you are a holder of any of these tokens. And then in partnership with Today, we also have this restaking perspectives dashboard. So looking at the restaking ecosystem rather than just focusing on EIGEN. Some very interesting charts on this one, and you'll see a lot more of the charts that are highlighted in this dashboard throughout this presentation. So to dive right into it, we'll do a brief restaking in review. I wanted to keep this slide from the previous webinar because I think it's quite interesting. I've updated the definition, let's say, which the revised definition, rather than focusing on what staked ETH can do to staked ETH as an asset that applications can use to secure their applications built on the restaking protocol, changing it up for enabling staked assets to be used to secure new applications built on top of a restaking protocol. So it's a bit nuanced, this change, but I'll elaborate more as we go through this webinar. And I left this quote from Sriram Kannan about EIGEN being a marketplace for decentralized trust. I think the decentralized portion of this is quite critical because as we see new protocols launching restaking platforms, we see that this decentralized aspect becomes important because other protocols are introducing new ways to interact with restaking that likely will only benefit the space. So kind of building on top of what EigenLayer had already started. One thing that really, this is a chart that is quite impressive when you look at it, is that restaking has had a pretty impressive growth trend. Even with it starting to flatten off and drop a bit in TVL, we were reaching above 20 billion in TVL across all restaking protocols. Right now we're sitting above, just above 16 billion, if I recall correctly. So it has become one of the largest categories of TVL in DeFi. And you can see from this chart that this really only took off from the beginning of this year. Late December, early January is when we saw this. So in the last 6 months or so, we've seen this category grow from near zero to, you know, as high as 20 billion, which is pretty remarkable in this space. Another interesting thing that I think is always important to track is how much ETH in general is being restaked. So this is a chart breaking into two categories: the amount of staked ETH that is being restaked, and the entire amount of all ETH being restaked. So from this, we can see that LSTs, there has been quite avid participation uptake from LST holders as they're seeking new yields. And so we're seeing around 16% of all staked ETH being restaked. And then as a whole, 4.5% of all circulating ETH is being restaked, which for some people, this is something to track when they feel like there might be concerns on whether or not restaking might take over and cause certain risks to the underlying proof of stake beacon chain. Right now, I don't see this as an issue, but it's quite interesting to track and see how much of all ETH and staked ETH starts to converge into restaking. And also with this boom in the restaking marketplace, integrations have been popping up left and right. If you guys are on Twitter, you've probably seen some sort of partnership with some restaking protocol. And it has been a huge catalyst for immense growth for many protocols and L2s. Some of them to note here: Mode, Scroll, and Linea on the L2 front saw hundreds of millions of LRTs, liquid restaking tokens, pour into their protocols as they integrated them and continue to hold large amounts of TVL in these types of tokens. And then on the protocol level, lots of lending protocols such as Gearbox, Morpho, ZeroLend, Aave, and Fluid have seen huge influxes of liquid restaking tokens. With Aave, for example, wrapped EETH from EtherFi is, I believe, the second largest asset deposited at around 2 billion or so, just behind wrapped staked ETH. So really capturing a huge market share and attention share in the last 6 months. And then at the bottom right of the screen, Pendle has been kind of the starling of the restaking ecosystem, being able to grow up to, I think, above 7 billion in TVL, mainly due to the liquid restaking tokens and being able to farm points at a higher level using Pendle. So let's dive into who is new in the restaking space, there are three most notable protocols that have launched in the last couple of months. One of the first ones was Karak. So they differentiated themselves from EigenLayer by first accepting multiple assets, so not just staked ETH, but also stable coins and other tokens that users could deposit into. Their system is not live yet as close as EigenLayer is at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see them start to open up and have the protocol be in a more advanced stage in the coming months. Another thing they did was that they also have assets restaked on multiple chains. So right now, I believe that mostly these are just L2s. So Arbitrum, to be as one of the main items, that one of the main chains that is getting a lot of traction, but other L2s as well. And then one other thing that is different from other protocols here is that they are allowing the rehypothecation of other LRTs. So rehypothecation has been floated around sometimes as a big scary word. Essentially, they're allowing tokens that are staked into EigenLayer to then be redeposited into Karak, which essentially sets up a first risk and second risk design where there's still an asset backing or securing the services on Karak, but if a slashing event happens that affects that token on EigenLayer, then the total value drops a bit. You can think about it if you're familiar with like a first and second lien on a mortgage, a house, or something like this. This is a nice analogy, I would say, for this setup. And then one of the bigger entrants recently is Symbiotic. So they also accept multiple assets. They have a very large STETH and Lido focus because they are part of the Lido Alliance. So this is what they're focusing on the most. They're not as concerned about Lido taking up a large proportion market share of the security on their protocol, as EigenLayer had been in the past, trying to reduce the dominance of different LSTs in their ecosystem. It's currently only on mainnet. This might change. I think there's a high chance that we might see more of these protocols move multi-chain. And then Nectar, it's lesser known, but it is also accepting multiple assets. They have a BTC vault, which can be quite interesting for users who are holding BTC and would like to earn yields on this. They have only just launched their vaults, so they're still in a growth phase, but another protocol to keep a lookout for. So the big item is diversification is trending. We can see here from this chart that EigenLayer still dominates 100%, or still dominates the TVL in restaking with about 90% of all TVL in EigenLayer. Symbiotic has very quickly popped up into second place with their recent cap unlocks or cap lifts. And I imagine that if they lift the caps again, we could see more inflows there in the coming months. And then Karak is also close to $1 billion, so not a number to bat your eyes at. It's still relevant here. And the biggest item is, as I said earlier, is allowing multiple assets has been the big differentiator. As we can see down in this table at the bottom of the screen, the top token deposited for each of these protocols with wrapped ETH being the largest one for EIGEN, which is mainly through LRTs that allowed native restaking by depositing ETH into those LRTs. Karax, surprisingly, is the wrapped ETH, so the rehypothecated assets that I mentioned. This is the largest deposited token into their protocol. And then, unsurprisingly, wrapped staked ETH is the main one in Symbiotic, as that is a focus that they have. Moving on, it's important to talk about what restaking's impact will be on Ethereum. I think a lot of the focus in these initial months of this year have been on the airdrops, the points, and this part. But now that some of these airdrops have happened, there was the EIGEN token drop fiasco that put some people off. I think it's quite interesting that we can start focusing on really what the products will be. And it could be quite interesting what we see come out of this. So in the first section is just the expanded services that will become feasible on the blockchain. So this is just an example of some of the services and the protocols that would be providing some of these services in this image on the right. But some of the other things that can pop up as more general categories are stateless services. So this isn't exclusive to restaking or any of the protocols specifically, but the idea of having protocols or even blockchains that aren't holding a state or a memory of the past transactions and the past blocks. This is something that can be done more easily on restaking services through the different services that are provided. So this can allow for potentially faster rollups or different high compute tasks to be done in a way that is quick enough to make them feasible for the blockchain. Preconfirmations, this is something that I'll go into in one of the slides coming up. Essentially, being able to request that your transactions get put into a block in the future. So this, again, isn't specifically something that will be happening on restaking services, but restaking in general opens up the field for being able to perform these much easier. This is something that could easily be happening outside of the restaking ecosystem, but restaking has really catalyzed the conversations about this topic. AI agents, these are going to be different agents that are essentially performing tasks in an automated fashion. Usually these would have high compute that would make it not possible on just Ethereum as itself, but with the expansion of some of the off-chain proving abilities with restaking, these might become useful and be able to do things like machine learning or automated portfolio management. And then rollups as a service. So we're seeing rollups as a service expand. The access to this security, this monetary security in restaking allows for these to expand and quickly pop up without having to bootstrap security themselves. So all rollup services will expand and thrive, I imagine, on any restaking protocol. Coming to pre-confirmations, so this is something that you've probably heard a lot of if you follow the Ethereum Research Foundation or specifically Justin Drake talks a lot about it. And as a broad definition, it is a mechanism that allows users to request a commitment from proposers to include contents in a future block. So as a user, you could say that you want certain transactions to happen in a block 3 blocks ahead. And if if it pairs up, that 3 blocks ahead is a proposer that is willing to take pre-confirmation commitments. They will say, yes, I will make sure that this transaction or this contents is in that block. There are 2 types of pre-confirmations. General pre-confirmations that are mainly focused on the blockchain, just saying I want this amount in that block in the future on this blockchain. There are also app-specific pre-confirmations saying that I want this contents from this app to be in a certain blockchain. So these are still very much in their infant stages, and a lot of research is happening. So I imagine that we'll see this space evolve quite a lot. But restaking will definitely catalyze this sort of transactions happening. Kind of similar to the pre-confirmations, that is slowly starting to become something that is being tested out on restaking. The general idea of using restaking and this ecosystem as a canary network is starting to gain hold, especially in the Ethereum research community. So essentially, what this would be is to try different mechanisms that could be working very well at the L1 level of the Ethereum blockchain, and testing them out first in the restaking environment, seeing how these mechanisms interact with transactions in a larger sense. And so this could be a quite interesting way for lowering the cost of research and the risks by allowing these things to bubble up and thrive on the restaking network. If some things are working, the Ethereum blockchain can look to enshrine it into the core code of the blockchain, and thus, you know, improve the blockchain iteration after iteration. And then expanding past objective tasks. So proof of staking usually is handling objectively attributable faults. So the easiest example of this, double signing a block, is something that can be proven mathematically and with algorithms, and doesn't need anyone to check and see. It can be proven, and then a user that the malevolent user or validator would get slashed. Restaking allows for what EigenLayer is called intersubjectively attributable faults. So this is stuff that everybody can see, but maybe doesn't necessarily have a way to be mathematically proven on the blockchain. So one of the best examples is like an Oracle feed, where, you know, if something pops up, some Oracle says 1 Bitcoin equals $1 US, everybody can see that that's not true. And so this is a task that EigenLayer would be able to handle and slash the validators that are trying to inject this incorrect data into the blockchain. That brings us to EIGEN, the intersubjective work token. Very big mouthful to say quickly. So what types of intersubjective work can you find? As I said, Oracle prices, this is a big one. And then one of the other big ones is like data withholding from these data layers like EigenDA. If someone who's going to be supporting these data tasks decides to withhold some sort of data information from a block or another user, this can be seen by others on the chain, and this malevolent actor can then be slashed with through social consensus and essentially forking the token. Something else that is introduced with the EIGEN token, aside from being an asset for intersubjective tasks, is that it's allowing forking to happen just within the EigenLayer ecosystem. So any big changes that need to happen, rolling back the block space or making some change to the composition of assets across the ecosystem can be done without having Ethereum have to fork. So this can be quite handy if there is some sort of malevolent transaction that happens and you want to roll that back without actually rolling back the whole chain. And then it also incorporates StakeSure, which is a new idea on staking from EigenLayer team, which instead of burning all of the slash tokens, it actually redistributes those slash tokens to good actors that were affected by whatever the malevolent actor was trying to do. So in the end, people who are staking aren't getting penalized because they just ended up being in a transaction that a malevolent actor was a part of, which is kind of what this visual is showing here, that some of it is burnt, but then a lot of it is redistributed back to other AVSs that were part of this. With the future direction of staking, restaking, from what we can see in terms of the trends with the new protocols launching and how different things are being adopted, multi-asset, this seems to be the case. Already Symbiotic and Karak are doing it, and Nectar. EigenLayer is only doing ETH, but they have the Eigen token, and AVSs that launch their own tokens can also be used as security for different tasks. So multi-asset is going to be moving forward. I expect a convergence on this at some point. Multi-chain, this will also likely be the case. And then non-EVM chains, as I said in the past, Avalanche, which is still EVM, but a different setup, Solana, and Cosmos, we're all seeing restaking of some shape or form showing up in these. There will be several different task types. So there's the objective and intersubjective. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see kind of subcategories pop up of these different tasks. And likely there will be some sort of tranched APR boosts depending on the asset and task type. So it might be that you find USDC used in restaking might earn higher yields than Bitcoin or Ethereum for some sort of reason. And so we're going to start to see kind of a divergence of these different assets and what sort of yields they're earning based on what they can be used for in the ecosystem. Coming to the conclusions, restaking expands basically limitlessly the possibilities of services on the blockchain. Intersubjective work could potentially drive more demand than objective work because it can incorporate a lot more tasks than objective, which is quite rigid on what can be performed there. It's an open question on my end, I think, of which one will generate higher revenues. I think this will be an interesting thing to watch out for and see as these protocols go live. And then convergence on multi-asset structure will definitely happen. I won't be surprised if every restaking protocol that launches from here on out will have multiple assets that they accept. The differentiation will be critical for these new protocols, though, to capture market share. EigenLayer has a huge advantage, first mover advantage at the moment. The Eigen token is quite unique. So what will these other protocols do with their tokens that they plan to launch? And then restaking adoption is not slowing down, even with some dips in the TVL. It's moving forward and will likely only continue to grow from here. That's it for this webinar. Next webinar is looking into institutional DeFi and seeing how they're interacting with DeFi, and really how likely it is that certain institutions will get incorporated and start using DeFi on a regular basis. Thank you. Here's my contact info. If anyone has questions, let me know.